Everybody, Joan Zodianz here, and welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Zundayz. This week, we're going to be talking about Venus shifting into Scorpio. I'm a little late tonight because my mom came over and I had to cook and I had to clean and I do all this extra stuff for her. Ah. So I'm sitting here late at night just trying to do this podcast real quick so y'all can wake up in the morning and listen to it on your way to work. All right, so my voice is gonna be a little low because everybody's sleeping right now. So I gotta do a little bit of ASMR. Just kidding, we're not gonna do that. So Mercury is in Scorpio, Mars is in Libra, and Venus is now shifting into Scorpio on the 9th, which is this Wednesday. Ninth. How come I can't say that right now? I can't talk as loud as I want to. It's too much. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. So when we talk about Venus, we're talking about the planet that influences love and relationships, and just not just romantic relationships, but all types of relationships. Okay, so professional and platonic. So not only does it affect how we deal with relationships, it's also how we perceive relationships. It defines relationships for us and how we're going to interact with people. So right now it's shifting into Scorpio, and Scorpio is a fixed water sign. So let's talk a little bit about that. So Scorpio is a very intense, very sensitive, and very intuitive zodiac sign. Okay, sometimes it's considered the psychic zodiac sign. Right now it's in Mercury. So Mercury is in Scorpio right now, and Venus will be in Scorpio. So this heightens a lot of that sensitivity. It heightens a lot of our intuition. So applying this to relationships will be very useful for a lot of people, or it can be very intense for a lot of people. It really depends on what your Venus is, if it's compatible with Scorpio. Okay, so remember, you are more than just your sun sign. You also have to be careful because Mercury is also in Scorpio, that you may feel very jealous during this time where you're very possessive over a relationship. Okay, you kind of want to keep somebody all to yourself. This could be a friend, this could be a family member, this can be your lover, or maybe somebody that you're just crushing on. You kind of start to obsess more about them. And this can be a good or bad thing for people. I'm not saying you're about to like have a bunch of stalkers, but when you're internalizing so many emotions for one person, it can start to intensify, or those desires start to become stronger and stronger each passing day, or you start to lust over that person. Okay, so you can see a lot of people during this time becoming more infatuated with somebody, even just from a distance. Because, Scorpios don't really take too much initiative on things. It's not like they don't want to, but they like to lure people in. They're very alluring. Am I saying that right? They're just very hypnotic, okay? So like to mesmerize people from a distance and bring them to them, right? That's what they like to do. That's why they're known for their eyes and their magnetism. But there are a lot of other things you may have to watch out for too, is that if you have incompatible signs under the Mercury or under the Venus, you may find that more negative emotions will start to appear, where you start to get more vengeful, or you start to think of more like deadlier thoughts. That's the nicest way to put it. Like they can become very emotional or very sensitive thoughts about yourself, really negative things about yourself, or negative things about other people. And we're just talking about if you have incompatible signs in those placements. So we're talking about air signs or any fire signs in those placements, again, in Mercury or in Venus. Okay. And this could also be a time where your sensitivity is just like you start to overreact on things. Usually, when there's water signs in Mercury or in Venus, these are things that we have to, it's common to watch out for. But with Scorpio, remember, it's that sign likes to internalize so many emotions. You have to find a way to relieve all of those emotions, either through writing, through meditation, or some kind of way where you can be more in tune with your spiritual side. Okay, more in tune with your higher self during this time, because you can quickly go down to your lower selves. And when we talk about higher selves and lower selves, we're talking about, your positive traits, your strengths versus your weaknesses. Does that make sense? And you're going to see a lot of people, maybe they're going to feel more insecure because they start to compare themselves with other people during this time. And it could be multitude of things, like you're comparing beauty, you're comparing wealth, you're comparing success. Whatever you're comparing to, you need to check yourself real quick and make sure you're not going in too much on yourself, or you're not being too intense with yourself. Try to use this intuitive energy, because that's really what it is, intense intuitive energy, and really apply it to intent. Okay, and apply it to what you want to do in the future. This is actually a really good time for it, mostly because Pluto, which is Scorpio's ruling planet, has gone direct. Even though it's in Capricorn, Scorpio, Capricorn and Scorpio are very much compatible with one another. And remember, if you listened to my podcast last week, we were talking mostly about money, wealth, and abundance. Now, when you mix these two signs together, you can start to manifest these things. It will be much easier to build intent and use your intuition to guide you. Now, I know there are a lot of people who have trouble defining what intuition is, or as people start to second guess their own intuition. So let's talk about that for a little bit, because I know a lot of people get that kind of confused. Um, when we follow our intuition, it's pretty much that gut feeling that you have during this time of Scorpio. You're not going to want to ignore that in yourself. If something doesn't feel right, go with that. If something does feel right, then jump on it. You know what I mean? And if you're still second guessing yourself, then it's something where you need to reflect and you need to meditate. Why do you feel fear, or why do you feel like this something feels off? Okay, sometimes intuition just can't be explained. You don't have any evidence, you don't have any proof of why it feels wrong. It just does. And the more you really get to understand your own energy, the more you trust yourself when you're making life changing decisions. Do you know what I mean? And following that intuition really helps guide where your soul needs to be, where your soul wants to be, and what feels good to your overall well being, you know? So, working and developing your intuition takes time and commitment. It takes a dedication and love for yourself, honestly, because you have to be able to place boundaries. You have to know your triggers. You have to know what sets you off. And a lot of times, intuition goes hand in hand with spirituality. I'm not trying to push that on you, because a lot of people are just like, I'm not ready for that. But oftentimes it does. It's having that faith in yourself, faith in the higher self, faith in, whatever higher entity is up there. We're not talking about religion either. We're just saying that there's something out there that's guiding you, guiding your soul. And it's almost as if your soul knows better. You know what I mean? We all have really old souls, most of us. And it's like we've been through something over and over and over again. So it's a reminder when these negative feelings come up, our souls are trying to remind us, like, hey, we've we've learned this lesson before. We don't want to learn it again. you know like, we don't want to learn that lesson again. Maybe you should stay away from this. But free will, man. Do what you want. Do what you want. Um and if you're good with yourself, you love yourself, and you know what's best for yourself, you won't jump on something that does feel wrong. And most times, people's gut feeling or their intuition never really leads them astray, because they trust themselves enough to know that it won't. So hopefully that made a lot of sense to you guys. I know it's kind of a lot, especially if you've never worked on your intuition before. It takes time, so things don't happen overnight. And just be kind and loving to yourself. And if you're feeling really low and you're feeling really sensitive right now, it's okay to isolate yourself for a little bit. It's private time. And to really connect with your higher self by meditating, by reflecting on things that are hurting, or reflecting on things that make you sensitive. This is also a good time to write down all your triggers, like, oh, this person triggered me. Why? Where is it coming from? It's a really good time to really get in tune with your higher self. And I can't say that enough. I mean, you should be working on that every day, but because of the energy that's going on right now, it's even stronger. That energy is stronger, and it's much easier to connect. All right. So hopefully you guys have a good week. My mommy is still here, so I gotta take care of her until she goes home. I made this one. I'm Filipino, if you guys didn't know, but I made this one Filipino dish for the first time today, and girl, boy, whoever's listening, that shit was good. I'm gonna cook that shit every week. So see you guys next week. And sorry it was a little bit late, but you know how I be. Okay, good night.